Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update. It is 1st of April today, first day of the month, and that also means we have a monthly ending, and that was a bad one in general for US stocks in particular. In this educational video, there's no advice or recommendation whatsoever. It is for educational purpose only, where I try to show you how I read the market using technical analysis. And today we'll start with Apple that opened lower yesterday, but buyers came in almost from the opening and throughout the session, and actually spiked all the way up to the resistance here at 225.70 and then ended just about 1.75% higher in this range here around 222. It needs to close above 225.70 to establish a bullish trend that could take it higher towards the 235 area possibly. If it takes out the lows from yesterday at 216.20, then a downtrend will resume. Microsoft also interesting movements. It spiked almost down to very few cents from the 366.50 resistance, still trading in this falling trend channel here. And on the weekly, we can see how this 366 area giving some strong support. However, we are in a negative sentiment on the weekly. No divergence indicating lower levels. There is a bit divergence on the daily. As you can see, the RSI is still in a negative sentiment, of course, but it didn't make new lows. The lows over here are lower. So we could possibly see a bounce, a little bit bounce today, testing the upper falling trend line there. On the broader market, S&P 500 dipped below 5,500, but ended back above the minor now resistance at 5,597. It is not a strong one anyway. We are still in negative sentiment, but it seems like there's some really strong interest around 5,500. Yes, it dipped below yesterday. It didn't do it here about 2 weeks ago. Could possibly find more bids here through the day, because that was actually a little bit of sign of strength, the buyer lifting it. We could see a little bit of bounce. However, if it takes out the lows from yesterday, then we are really in trouble and could be sent lower below 5,400. Key support here. RSI on the weekly touched the 40 threshold, but didn't close below. So still a little bit of strength there. We have the Nasdaq 100. Dip below 19,000, well below 18,800 actually, still below the minor resistance here at 19,397. If it can move back above that, well, then they possibly could try to crawl back towards 20,000. But if it is being rejected and sliding lower, well, then downtrend is still in play. Here on the weekly, we see RSI below the 40 threshold, indicating likely lower levels in the coming weeks. Dow Jones, well, that was also interesting. Opened below the minor support, but found bids throughout the session and closed about 1% higher, just above 42,000. Could follow through today, possibly trying to get back up to this area here around 42,500. But if it starts sliding lower again below this minor support here, well, then the downtrend is back in action. EuroStoxx50 dipped just below the support of 5,228 in this kind of consolidation area here. I think we will bounce a little bit today. Pre-market, we are just up a tad. The RSI actually did close below 40 threshold, so we're actually in negative sentiment, but we're in the cloud here, so I'll say we are a bit of a neutral position. And let's have a look at the CFD/the future that dipped almost down to the 5,200. Didn't go all the way down to 5,217. If it starts crawling back and gets back above 5,313, well, there's potential to bounce back towards 5,367, 5,400. RSI, did it close below 40 threshold? It did. Negative sentiment, but let's see. I could find bits here. The DAX, quite interesting, testing the lower rising trend line there. The close just around the 22,148 support, and I think, well, unchanged here at the open. We are still above the cloud. We are just around the 55 moving average. Not negative sentiment, still positive sentiment on the RSI, but there's been massive divergence. Let's see if we can bounce back. But if it takes out the lows from yesterday, well, then expect a push below 21,800. And let's just quickly look at the pre-markets. It dipped the GR40 CFD dipped below the 22,115, but stayed above the cloud and above the 55 moving average. So still some strength in the DAX index. Euro dollar didn't do much the past 2 days actually. Well, yesterday and towards the end of the week it bounced a little bit, but it's like it can't make up its mind. should I bounce back to resuming positive or bullish trend, or should I just stay flat here? If it takes out the 107.30, 107.25 support here, well, then expect a push down to, or sell off down to 106.25 in this region here. But I still believe we will see it bouncing higher. If RSI can get back above 60 threshold, and I think if we see euro dollar above 108.50, then we will see a move up to previous peaks. Sterling dollar still in this range trading behavior between 128.60 and 130.15, and it really needs to break out of that for direction. Euro sterling, after spiking below the 61.8 retracement at 83.20, it needs to get back above 83.90 to resume bullish trend. I think it will do it eventually, because we still have positive sentiment on the RSI. There's no divergence indicating that we could bounce higher here in the coming weeks. However, if it takes out the lows here from the 28th at 83.15, then we are looking for lower levels around 82, 85, possibly lower. But let's see if it can break that resistance there. Dollar yen, that was rejected at the strong resistance on 151.20 or 25. Testing the support at 148.60, 65. If it takes it out, well, then expect a push to the previous lows here around 146.5. Testing the falling trend line there that it broke out of. So let's see if it can do that. And now today we have this death cross coming in. It is invincible. Let's see, what are we talking about? Is it actually below? It is currently just 55, currently still a tad above the 200, but it will cross no later than tomorrow. So it will cross below it, and they're both declining, meaning we have a death cross indicating a pressure to the downside. So I think we'll see dollar yen sliding lower in the coming days and weeks. But of course, there is no given there. So keep an eye on that 151.20 level. The euro yen, well, dancing sideways really, 160.70, with a positive undertone though, but the declining 200 moving average is actually giving a little bit of a hard time for it to move higher. So if it takes out 160.70, well, then I think we'll see downtrend to resume. The Aussie yen caught kind of a range trading, declining trend line, support here at 93.15. It dipped a little bit below yesterday. If it takes it out once again, then I think we'll see it being dropping real fast to around 92, and these levels here around 91.70, 80 level. All moving average declining. We are below the cloud. We are negative sentiment, so I think that's the way we are going eventually. However, if it takes out 95.40, there could be a counter trend up towards 96. And sterling yen, well, unchanged from yesterday. After I would still regard it as a false break, but let's see. We have the all moving averages declining still, so dragging a little bit, but we are above the cloud and we have positive sentiment. So there's on both sides, I would say, so it's really hard to read, but if it takes out the peaks there at 195, 196, well, then we could see the bullish trend, which is actually it's still in towards 197, 198. Aussie dollar closed yesterday below support at 65.5, trying to get back above here this morning. So that would be key. Can it close back above? Can it close back in the cloud? Then maybe it can get back above the rising trend line there. We actually have established a little bit of a downtrend, lower low, lower high, and lower low. If it starts sliding lower here again throughout the day, then I would say, well, then we will see a pressure lower. So also here the moving averages are a little bit diverging. We have the 100 coming down, but the 55 rising, so it's trying to drag it back above. And if it does get back above the rising trend line and back above the cloud there, well, then we can see a push up towards testing this upper falling trend line, possibly up to 64. But I think if we take out the lows today and lows, especially the lows tomorrow, I expect the sell-off down to below 62, 61.5, and this region down here. The dollar Canada, minor resistance. If I think it will break higher here and push towards these peaks here, 145.5 area. If it takes out the lows here at 142.35, well, then we are looking at levels around 141.5. But I think we'll see it slowly crawling higher, and if it gets back above the cloud, then there's potential higher for dollar Canada. Sterling Canada keeps bouncing, and currently just around 61.8 retracement and 186.14. I think we will see it crawling even higher. We have positive sentiment, and now it's also back above 60 threshold, indicating likely higher levels. There was a minor divergence over here, but that does mean we can't move up to 186.85 and possibly also take out that previous peak there. Euro-Swiss also keep bouncing a little bit lower this morning here, but I think it will bounce towards the 61.8 retracement at just below 96, possibly up to the 786 retracement at 96.25. If it takes out 94.90, well, then we could see a drop below 94.5 in this region here, where we have the 200 moving average giving some support. However, we have the 55 coming up, we have the 100 coming up, so the underlying trend is indicated to be up. The dollar Swiss dancing sideways between 88.65 and the lows here around 87.5 area, and it needs to break out for direction. The RSI indicating could be to the downside. We also have the 55 moving average coming down. The 100 basically flat, but 55 will break below the 100 in a couple of days. That's not a positive signal, or a bullish signal at least. The 200 not giving, just giving some support, so we are dancing around this level here at the moment. So we stay in the range for now. Dollar index, almost same picture really. We are, although we are below the 200 moving average, could still bounce up to the 38.2 retracement at 104.65, and then the 200 will add to the resistance area. But we are still in a bearish trend and negative sentiment indicating lower levels. But let's see, maybe we could see a little bit of a bounce before that bearish trend resumes. Gold keeps climbing, spiked a little bit higher today, almost to 3,150. There's still potential higher, as we talked about yesterday. We need to have a look at the monthly chart to see what's actually going on. So we still have this cup with a handle indicating, and then we have done a extension and 3,257, which is the 161.8 extension of this entire pattern here. There is potential up to that, but we are also quite stretched. But look at this, there is no divergence on the RSI, monthly RSI indicating likely higher levels. So it could be more in for gold there. On the weekly, we do have the divergence. We can see RSI is lower here than here, so we are a little bit stretched short to medium term, but that doesn't mean we can't keep climbing. But let's see, we are also here short term on the daily a little bit stressed. We have the RSI just around the previous peak, so that's a sign of I think we will see a little bit of a exhaustion, and then maybe a little bit of a setback eventually. The silver can't really make up its mind here. Just around 34.5, 34 level, and we can see what's going on. If we're looking at weekly chart, we can see, well, it's the previous peaks here back from Q3, Q4 last year, and that also goes all the way back to, oops, sorry about that. We can see goes all the way to these levels here. So that's a bit of a struggle for silver, really. I think it will overcome eventually, but it seems like it just needs to find some ground here before the next push higher. Copper also in a correction phase, corrected already 38.2, dipped just below to 500. I think we could still see it dipping down to the 61.8 at 483 before bouncing, but let's see. We still have this top and reversal pattern here in place, this shooting star-like pattern or candle there, and we reached 138.2 projection of this here on the weekly. So I would be in a wait and see position at the moment. If it takes out the lows from the 31st or from yesterday, then I think we'll see it down here at 483. On the energy side, and WTI crude oil has continued higher yesterday at the 786 retracement of the downtrend here, surpassed the 38.2 of the entire trend. I think we could still see it pushing higher towards these peaks here. I think we'll make it clear with a horizontal line. There we are at 73.68 could be seen. But then we have the 200 moving average coming down, giving it a hard time. However, we do have the RSI now above 60 threshold, closed above yesterday, and indicating that we could see higher levels here in the coming days and weeks. The weekly chart, well, it was still in a bouncing mode, so I think it's fairly limited, but let's see what happens if we move up in this region here, because then we also have the cloud to fight with a bit. The Brent crude oil above the 74.26 resistance, pushing towards the 786 retracement at 75.25. Also positive sentiment on the RSI now, and there's potential higher, but then we have the 200 moving average that will give it a bit of a hard time there, but there is potential up to, and let's just move this one up there to the 77.15 level, but that will be some strong resistance for sure. On the Eurogas.CGF, testing the lower part of the range there at 40 euros, keep it on that level. The Henry Hub US Nat Gas couldn't really follow through, but we are still in a bouncing mode, and I think we could still see it towards 445 level. Moving on to yields, to yields, the US 10-year yields keep declining, and I think we could still see it down to 412, 410 area, and let's just to make it easier to see, 410, so where we have some strong support, negative sentiment indicating lower levels after it was rejected there at 440. We have now 55 crossing over the 100, and that is a bearish signal, so I think we will see it being pushed lower. The 2-year already taking out, yesterday took out the previous trough there at 384, and could now drop further to 370, 365. On the European yields, we have the European 10-year that dipped yesterday below. Oh no, not below, but down to the supported 265, then bounced. But now it seems like it's sliding lower again. So it's really a key level to look out for, 265 in this gap area here, really key to watch. The UK 10, let's just adjust a little bit, sliding lower here after being rejected at 480, could test the rising trend line there. And what is interesting to watch is that the 55 moving average is declining, so we could see it down to these levels here around 460. Then I think we'll see a bounce. And finally, we have Bitcoin bounced off the 61.8 retracement at 81,234, and is bouncing further and could bounce towards 88,000. Let's see if we can get up there. But then we have the 55 moving average coming down, giving it a hard time. Ethereum bounced from the previous lows and support here at 1755. Could test the falling trend line. If it breaks above it, then we are back to 2100. But if it takes out the lows here at 2155, then we're looking at 1500. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day. Talk to you again tomorrow.